odd timing that Trump decided to do this. Honduran ex-president Juan Orlando Hernandez released from U.S. prison.
A real narco trafficker.
After Trump pardon. What's going on here? Well, here's some archives here. You can see Juan Orlando Hernandez, former president of Honduras, was actually sentenced to 45 years in prison, and this was last year. So he was barely a year into his sentence. The sentence was for what he was convicted for was conspiring to distribute more than 400 tons of cocaine and related firearms offenses. Okay, well, and then you have this this article. I just thought this was also interesting for historical context. That earlier this year, Honduras, a narco state, made in the U.S. Although Juan Orlando Hernandez was convicted of drug trafficking in a New York court, so he was convicted in a U.S. court. The U.S. Has yet to own up to the fact that we played a role in the narco trafficking. So that's another part of the story. We're not going to get that. We're not going to get that part on any of the networks right now because we know the game they play. Well, I like Ben Norton's takedown of this one because he says, "Look, so you guys understand this." The chain of events here. So Donald Trump, he officially pardons and released one of the worst drug traffickers on earth. So we put him into the position of power, but he was convicted by a U.S. court. So how did that conviction come about? Well, on like we said, on more than 400 tons of cocaine, he personally collaborated with El Chapo. Ironically, although he was close U.S. ally, his drug trafficking operations were so enormous. So we created a monster. We created him. He got so big that his impact on U.S. society that the U.S. Justice Department started to have, they were kind of forced to investigate him during Trump's first term when he was still in power in Honduras. So he came into power after the U.S. government supported the right-wing coup. And this was during, in 2009, when Obama and Hillary were in power. Washington then propped up two corrupt right-wing coup regimes in Honduras, which were run by drug dealers. So why does Trump release him now? That's the big question. Because the U.S. empire lost control over Honduras in 2022 when the left-wing Libre Party came to power. So Trump and Rubio have been openly meddling. That sounds just like the playbook you'd get out at this point. Openly meddling in Honduras 2025 election to put the right-wing National Party back in power. The National Party was his power, so it works closely with the drug cartels. It's impossible to state the hypocrisy of the U.S. empire. The U.S. supports the worst drug dealers in Latin America, as you know what we're trying to do in Venezuela as we speak. So this is right now, Trump justifies his criminal war aggression against Venezuela based on the lie that he's fighting drug cartels while he openly supports the worst drug lords alive. And here's a list. Then he lists all of our allies. So you guys understand this is not just one unique one. These are all of our Latin America allies that are close to us because of the drug trafficking. This is another red flag. We know, obviously, that Maduro is not our close ally. Therefore, he's the only one we're going to call the drug dealer. Meanwhile, we protect all of these people on this list. And there you go. There it is. So, and then I think Wyatt did a little check. Wyatt Reed, friend of the show, little check and saw, yep, he's been released. Juan Orlando Hernandez, release date 12/1/25. There it is. Yeah. So that's what's really going on. How is Trump? How is he spinning this thing? Well, he's pretty seems to not. I don't know. You tell me. I'm going to play the clip here and then I'll pass it to you, Craig. But this is Trump responding to the blatant hypocrisy of releasing one drug cartel convicted felon and then pretending to go after another one.
Let me guess. He's going to blame it on Biden because that's all he ever does. Okay.
Let's see what he does. This is his little art of the deal going. Here we go. Yeah. Trump, you're up.
Mr. You've made so clear how you want to keep drugs out of the U.S. Can you explain more about why you can pardon a notorious
he said, I don't know who you're talking about. So play dumb. That's the first. I don't know. I don't know what you mean. What are you talking about?
I was asked by Honduras, many of the people of Honduras, they said it was a Biden setup. Not only Biden, but Biden didn't do it a lot. But it was the people that surround the Resolute desk, surround Biden when he was there, which was about very little time. And the people of Honduras really thought he was set up, and it was a terrible thing. He was the president of the country. And they basically said he was a drug dealer because he was the president of the country.
So they're saying he was set up. Really? You're saying the guy was set up? So he's innocent this whole time. That's what you looked into it and you determined he was innocent. Okay, well, how did you come to that conclusion?
And they said it was a Biden administration setup.
You called it, Craig. He said it was Biden administration that was part of the setup.
There's no difference between the Republicans and the Democrats. The Democrats had Manuel Zelaya removed. He was the the Democratic Socialist type of president that really invested in his own state with social programs for the poor people. Once he made an alliance in Alba with Nicaragua, Cuba, Venezuela, they had him removed in his pajamas in the middle of the night. That was Madam Secretary Hillary Clinton, whatnot. Donald Trump just continued to go along with the new regime, which was the National Party and Juan Orlando Hernandez. In the election in 2017, even the OAS, which is the Organization of American States, which usually just it's like a USAID, an NED, NGO. That's really the PR marketing, public relations marketing firm for regime change for the CIA. And in fact, a lot of the money they send through these organizations, go through CIA little projects. This has happened for the Iran-Contra scandal when the Congress wouldn't fund the CIA's little civil wars over there. They had to sell drugs on the street via Freeway Rick Ross, crack cocaine, buy weapons, and sell it over there. So the OAS even said in 2017 that the election was so potentially fraudulent that they should do another election. And they normally side on they err on the side of the empire. They even said it was so bad, but the Trump administration pushed it through and gave the blessing to Juan Orlando Hernandez, right? He's his little puppet. When this election came about in the end of 2021, the one election that me and Fiorello went to, the majority of people, whether they be conservative, leftist, right, center, they wanted Juan Orlando Hernandez gone. They felt that their national sovereignty had been taken away from them. And that's why Xiomara Castro, who happened to be Manuel Zelaya's wife, came into power. That's the current president right now. Right now, from what we understand, Rishi Moncada, who is part of the Libre Party, the party of Manuel Zelaya, is leading. However, Donald Trump is back in business. So what does he do? He pardons Juan Orlando Hernandez. The hypocrisy of saying that the Venezuelan fishermen are drug traffickers when you're pardoning an actual drug trafficker. I mean, a guy who got caught with 400 tons of cocaine, 400 tons of cocaine bringing into the U.S., you know what I'm saying? Now you're pardoning him. You're showing the complete hypocrisy. Donald Trump wants the Libre Party gone in Honduras. It's very scary right now. We have to see what's going to go through. If somehow the results come back where Rishi Moncada, who is part of the Libre Party, who is part of the clan of Manuel Zelaya and Xiomara Castro, happen to win, what's going to happen next? There are 4 military bases in Honduras, right? Along with these autonomous zones. 4 military bases, a lot of American troops there. They can coup her tomorrow. So we don't know what's going to happen, but I kind of believe that Donald Trump was put back into power because of Latin America, because he is so anti-Latin America, right? To the governments there and to his base, he can yell, it's a socialist, it's a communist, and people will go along with regime change. So we're waiting on these results right now. He even put out true social tweets or whatever you want to call them, calling for the removal of the Libre Party and Xiomara Castro and this party, the Juan Orlando Hernandez party, to get back into power again. There's also a third candidate he'll deal with too as well. So Donald Trump wants the leftist parties gone. It's the ultimate form of hypocrisy to go ahead and then pardon a guy who is an actual drug trafficker, you know what I'm saying, while saying you're killing drug traffickers. Megyn Kelly, why don't you look into this? Even Matt Gaetz was so stupid that he had Juan Orlando Hernandez's wife back in. And I can tell you this, When I was there in 2021, conservative, left, right, it didn't make a difference what political ideology people had. The majority of people wanted this party gone. They wanted the Juan Orlando Hernandez drug trafficking party gone. They wanted a right to choose their own government and to decide what they should do with their resources, not the West. But once again, 4 military bases there, it's a lot easier to coup this country than it is, let's say, Nicaragua, Venezuela, or Cuba.
That's it. And I think you're onto something with Trump being hand selected for this purpose as well as other purposes, because he has that
the Greater Israel Project.
Yeah, Greater Israel Project, obviously, and money talks for him. You give him $100 million, and you get to have a meeting, and you get to walk right into the White House anytime you want, as he told us about Mary Malice. And so it seems that his Latin America obsession with going around and policing, and probably he's got this weird obsession with wanting to do it better than Obama and Hillary did. He wants to do it better. He wants to take out the Maduro better than Obama and Hillary took out Gaddafi. He wants to do it in a way where he can turn around and tell everyone, look what we got for the deal. Look at all of our military contracts. Look at all the oil. Look at all the gold. We're going to steal it even better than they stole it back then. And so that's, I think, part of his obsession as a business dude. Like, he came into this as in, how can we exploit these parts of the world that have resources that'll help us be more prosperous. So it is a mindset he had going in before he was ever president. Before the first term, he was thinking like this. So and he's obviously only gotten worse with the Zionism and the Adelson money. But just at the end of this, right before we had the little glitch, I wanted to say, Craig, you nailed it when he's blaming this on Biden. To the reporter here. Let me try to get the second half of this one real quick here.
The president of the country, and they said it was a Biden administration setup. And I looked at the facts and I agreed with them.
What evidence did you share that he was set up and that he wasn't?
When you take a look, I mean, they could.
So she's saying, what do you mean he was set up by Biden's administration? What was the setup? What are you talking about?
Say that you take any country you want. If somebody sells drugs in that country, that doesn't mean you arrest the president and put him in jail for the rest of his life.
So now he's really going too far. He should have ended it right there, because that was a deceptive answer that was enough. But then he has this tendency to keep babbling, and now he's giving away the game plan. He's saying, well, we want to be careful because we don't want to just arrest any president that we think that there's drug activity going on in their country, because it's not necessarily the president's fault. And he's saying this as you're trying to blame Venezuela for drug trafficking and pin it on Maduro. It's fascinating that he's having to make this argument, because nobody's asking him to make this argument. And even in the next thing he's going to say, he's going to compare it to, he's going to say, make sure no one does that here either, because we have drug problems here, but I don't want anybody arresting me for the problem that we might have. That's not my deal. It's not my deal. So I just, so you know, that's why he's innocent, because it wasn't really him.
That includes this country, okay? To be honest, I mean, if somebody does something wrong, you put the president of the country in jail. They said it was a Biden setup. It was a Biden administration setup. And you have a big race going on this week, next week. I think it's going to be a very important race. It'll be interesting to see Honduras. That's what you're talking about, right?
Correct, yes.
Yes.
A very important race, and we're not at all skeptical that we're not meddling in this race and determining the outcome, as we do all the time. And I don't know how anyone can look at this and go, hey, yeah, we're just going to grab a box of popcorn and watch the Honduras people have an honest election, and we'll just see what happens. Clearly, that's not the thing. And Fee is tweeted this. I think we'll get to the Matt Gaetz situation, where she's saying, according to ground reports, we unfortunately predicted an electoral U.S.-backed coup attempt is underway in Honduras. The Honduran right wing has reportedly infiltrated the CNE as they fuel a victory with only 30% of the votes scrutinized. And then, of course, Matt Gaetz, here you go. He says, no, the people rose up and rejected socialism. And then Craig Pasta chimes in and says, hey, Matt, have you ever been to Honduras? You're missing the bigger picture. People there don't view socialism through a simplistic American lens. Their form of socialism is collective, pooling resources for social programs that benefit the majority and combat American imperialism. A visit to Honduras would give you a clear perspective. What we are seeing is another U.S. coup. Man, well said. Did you ever get a response from Matt on that one?
Not from Matt. Some other people kind of chimed in too as well. I mean, I think we need to point out this. I changed the word comical, right? Like, and Fiorella thought I was a little bit too. She's like, Pasta, you're going too soft on this guy. This guy knows it's not socialism. He's pushing American imperialism. That's what he's doing, right? And in a lot of ways, she's right. Enough is enough with the soft-handed kind of like, oh, well, nah, this is, even if they were socialist, they don't have a right. We don't have a right to go and change their government. And you telling these lies, never been there, never been on the ground, not understanding what's going on, not even understanding the election system itself, the legitimacy of their election system themselves. And most people in the United States who are election integrity activists can tell you that the Honduranian election system, general election system, is 10 times better than the American system. I have, a video of the public counting that took place that we witnessed in 2021 at the end of 2021. It made me want to cry, Matt, because, I wanted that type of transparency and public counting here at home. But, this whole kind of, mentality of this, oh, it's anti-socialism, anti-communism, and Donald Trump's base playing into it. This is what I talk about with Candace Owens. This is the danger of Candace Owens, because when she talks about being the anti-communism situation, she's not even so much talking about pushing back against communism. She's talking to a capitulation of capitalism and imperialism, what's going on today. You know what I'm saying? That at the end of the day, that's what she is justifying. You know what I'm saying? I've always said, let's not look at the whole communism as a whole. Let's look at about the positive things that come out of communism and socialism. Can central planning work? Well, the Chinese have made it work. They have high-speed rail going all over the country. You can get from Beijing to Xinjiang in a couple hours. Meanwhile, we have railroad technology here that we're still using from the 70s. You know what I'm saying? Can our collective tax dollars go to benefit our citizens, like infrastructure, like education, like healthcare, instead of paying to drop bombs for other countries and the military-industrial complex needs? Yes, it could. So we need to look at these things and maybe have a mixed system of sorts. But what I see with these people pushing back against the socialism the way that Matt Gaetz did, it's just a flat-out lie. It's not the truth. He's never been there. He doesn't understand what's going on. He doesn't understand the national sovereignty being the number one issue for those citizens there, what they want. They want a right to choose their government, their leaders, what to do with their resources, and they want the United States out of their business. But once again, we're telling all these other lies, and here goes Matt Gaetz, Nick Fuentes, carrying water for the military-industrial complex, the imperialist, arm of the United States, and pushing regime change by saying they're evil socialists and evil communists when it's just simply not true.
Yeah. I'll have to say this. I kind of disagree that you needed to go harsher. I don't think you were talking necessarily to him. I think that the way you spelled it out, who knows? You might have gotten the attention of some people that follow Matt Gaetz. And I think that you had more of a chance of affecting those people than you would if you called his ass out and said, what the hell, you're effing lying, you son of a bitch. You wouldn't get anybody that way. So I think that you may have accomplished more by just spelling it out. Sometimes you got to spell it out to people. Maybe they don't know. I don't know. So whatever, one mind at a time there. Change one mind at a time.